Title: The Ultimate Payback on a Cheating Partner. The car was finally repossessed. They snagged it while she was at work. Savage. Yeah, body. I'm leading a goal of 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I truly believe we can achieve it together. So if you could hit that subscribe button, it would really mean a lot to me. Now let's dive into the story. So, about my unfaithful girlfriend. We had been together for almost 7 years, living together for 6 of those. My line of work is electronic consulting, setting up systems with tons of sensors. It's good money but involves a lot of travel. Just setting the scene here. At some point, I sensed something was off. Nothing specific, just a gut feeling. I'm pretty good at trusting my instincts, so I decided to gather some evidence. While she was out, I placed sound-activated recorders in each room of our condo, tiny devices with storage linked to my office PC. I did this on a Friday afternoon. We spent the weekend together and had a great time. Sunday night, before bed, I loaded my luggage and tools into my car and discreetly attached a GPS tracker to her vehicle. I left the next morning for my next assignment, which would keep me away for 2 weeks. During the first week, we talked daily. The second week, communication became hit or miss. When I called during times she was usually home, it went straight to voicemail. When we did speak, she had various excuses: work meetings, late dinners, helping her brother, and so on. When the 2 weeks ended and I returned home, I went straight to my office. I noticed a lot of activity on the recorders during the first week and almost none during the second. Reviewing the first week's recordings, I discovered she was talking to another man. She even had him on speakerphone, so I heard both sides of the conversation. Turns out she'd been unfaithful since the very beginning of our relationship. Right then and there, I decided that some payback was in order. I needed to find out who this guy was. I learned she met him, his wife, and family at a campground where she used to work before we met. I found out where they lived and checked phone records. This was a few years back when landlines were still common. I looked up their number. Bingo, it was listed. I called the number, and a man answered. Prepared for this, I used a professional tone and asked to speak to Mrs. Smith. He called for her, and she came to the phone. I asked if she knew my soon-to-be ex-girlfriend. She said yes, mentioning they'd invited her over a few times after meeting at the campground. That was news to me. I told her we couldn't discuss it in detail right then, but asked if she'd call me back when she was free to talk. I gave her my cell number, hoping curiosity would prompt her to call back. Sure enough, 2 days later she did. I explained everything I'd recorded. Initially, she was skeptical. I offered to send her copies of the recordings. She agreed but remained doubtful. So my plan was set in motion. I went to a local recording studio with the files and explained what I needed. They combined the separate recordings so that as my girlfriend moved through the house, the conversations were seamless. They burned the audio onto CDs. It took 5 discs to cover everything. I mailed them to Mrs. Smith via registered mail. About 10 days later, she called me back. She was very calm and told me she'd filed for divorce the day before. Her husband works on an oil rig and was away for the next 2 weeks. After listening to the CDs, she gave them to her lawyer. Her husband made a significant amount of money, and over the years, they'd acquired many assets like campground plots, boats, and an RV. She made it clear she was going for half. I hung up, chuckling to myself. It couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, given what I'd heard on those recordings. During all this, I never said a word to my girlfriend. I acted as normal as possible. I even left the tracker on her car, though I didn't expect it to reveal much. Things were quiet for another week until the day everything started to unravel. My girlfriend was wandering around the house looking lost. I asked what was wrong, and she told me a friend was getting divorced. I expressed sympathy and went about my business. That evening, she was out on the deck talking on the phone. I didn't pay much attention, except that she occasionally raised her voice. After the call ended, she came back inside and went straight to the bedroom. I heard a bunch of rustling, so I walked over and saw her packing clothes. I asked what she was doing but got no reply. She finished packing, walked out to her car, threw the suitcase in, and left. Well, 2 weeks went by without a word from her. Then I got a call from Mrs. Smith. She updated me on her situation. She had her husband served with divorce papers, citing infidelity. He denied it, of course, but she confronted him with details that stopped him cold. She confirmed that the phone call my girlfriend had the night she left was with her. She said she never raised her voice, but my ex-girlfriend tried to deny everything. Mrs. Smith provided enough details to let her know she was caught. She implied she had found out on her own and that her next step was to tell me. That's why my girlfriend left so abruptly. Now, handling my ex's situation, I canceled her credit card, arranged to have her car repossessed, shut off utilities, and canceled her insurance. All her belongings left behind were sent by movers to her dad's house, along with a note explaining why, by the way, he lives 2 states away. We lived in a condo, so I arranged to sublease it. I packed up and moved within 4 days to a new condo in a gated community with a security guard. The car was finally picked up. They got it while she was at work. Savage. The dealership worked with me on selling the car, and I paid the difference. Mrs. Smith won her divorce case and got half of everything. Mr. Smith didn't contest anything, too worried about his company finding out his dirty secrets. I never heard from my ex again. Wow, that's savage. Let me share my thoughts. You showed incredible patience. As I read through this, I realized you contacted the other man's wife, provided her with all the evidence, and found out all this information. It didn't hit me until you mentioned it. You never confronted your girlfriend. You just acted like everything was normal. That's hilarious and shows serious self-control. I'm not sure I could have done that, but it set up a great revenge story. She'd been unfaithful since the beginning of the relationship. This is why I advise against getting too deeply involved when trust is compromised. Living together, building a life, and then finding out there's betrayal, it's not worth it. When you get that gut feeling, always trust it. If something feels off, pay attention. After investing time, energy, and resources into someone, finding out they've been disloyal is a slap in the face. You handled it well. You didn't harm anyone physically. You just exposed the truth. Cheating is unacceptable across the board. I'm not mad at what you did. You didn't hurt anyone, you just revealed their actions. I appreciate how you handled it, and I'm sure others will too. Now let's check out what others have to say. Someone said they love how you didn't let your emotions get the best of you. Yes, that's impressive. It was very satisfying to read. Some suggested you post this on Pro Revenge. Glad things worked out for you. All the best going forward. Another person mentioned that Mrs. Smith might have had her own suspicions, given how quickly she filed for divorce. You probably saved her from her unfaithful husband. Good work. You replied that Mrs. Smith wasn't very receptive until she listened to the audio. After that, you could hear the cold determination in her voice. She was going to get her justice for sure. It's true, when someone cheats, they're showing they don't care about you. They're lying and deceiving you, which is disrespectful. When that happens, it's best to walk away. Don't make excuses for them or blame external factors. Someone pointed out that your revenge on your girlfriend was mild, but at least Mrs. Smith benefited from your efforts. But I think your ex lost a great guy. Her world imploded. She couldn't even face you. She just left. That's got to be eating her up inside. Some people question the ethics of setting up recording devices and tracking her car. While I understand the concern, you did it in your own home and used your own equipment. In your line of work, you had access to these devices. Overall, I commend you for your patience. Holding on to the evidence and letting everything unfold while you stayed calm is impressive. I'm not upset with how you handled it. And that's the end of this video, everyone. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this content. Turn on notifications to stay updated on my latest posts. See you next time.